Jeff DeBelko here again in Oslo at the Global Environmental Change and Human Security Conference, Synthesis Conference, led by Karen O'Brien, human geographer in the Department of Human Geography here at the University of Oslo, and for 4 or 5 years the chair of the Scientific Steering Committee of GEX, the Global Environmental Change and Human Security Project. So Karen, can I just give you an open-ended question from your perspective, where you're sitting working in this international network of scientists focusing on human security, someone like yourself very involved in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. What do you see as the kind of value added in the contribution that human security perspective has had, and where do you see it making a contribution going forward?
I think that the value that we've really had is bringing human security to the, making it part of the discourse on environmental change, shifting environmental change and climate change away from being environmental problems to being human security issues. So, and that has been it was very tough in the beginning, but probably what we've really added is creating a community of researchers who are actually showing that it's about individuals and communities having the capacity to respond to threats to their environmental, social, and human rights, and really pulling environmental change out of the box of just environment and bringing it into issues of development, poverty, vulnerability, etc.
And that has been, well, let me ask it as a question, but it seems that that's been largely absent, say, from an important document like the previous assessments of IPCC. Do you see that as kind of a place where you will be targeting efforts to bring those issues into the fifth assessment?
Definitely. I think that, IPCC has really taken kind of this macro, regional, and sectoral scale analysis, and it really doesn't get down to what climate change means for individuals and communities. It doesn't add in a lot of the social science and humanities literatures that are really saying what, why it matters, and what are the underlying issues of power and interest and things that are driving these things. So one of the things at this conference is we've actually had a discussion about how we get this field of research, this body of knowledge into the IPCC assessment, and which I think it's necessary to make it relevant by 2014 when the fifth assessment report is done.
And just as you've been doing that macro global work, you've also been doing a lot on vulnerability in the SAVI initiative that was also part of GEX. Can you say a word about how you brought that down into a Southern African context?
We really wanted to show that that environmental change really isn't, it's not just the environment, it's multiple stressors. People are responding to lots of different shocks and stressors simultaneously that really all of them act together to affect the capacity to respond. And so Southern Africa was just an ideal place where you had people looking at food insecurity, urbanization, warfare, neoliberal trade policies and things, and people were vulnerable to all of them. So how could we actually study that and get at the heart of what makes people vulnerable, and where it's common? And so that has been a really good example.
Yeah, and presumably also more relevant to the practitioners who are grappling with the issue. It's not kind of in a single box. They're facing all these boxes together.
Yeah, and we had the whole basis of the SAVI initiative was to join in with practitioners and policymakers from the start. In the food security, people have a lot of data and a lot of understanding, but then they lack the framework for actually making sense of it. So really, in this kind of, I think it emerged that SAVI was more like a boundary organization.
Oh, that's great. Well, if all research projects could have that additional benefit, that's terrific. Well, thank you, Karen, for a terrific week here in Oslo with bringing this whole community together.
Well, thanks for coming and supporting us.
Our pleasure.